Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. At 5 a.m., the Rosemont Gardens community in Montego Bay was quiet, pitch dark, and distinctive. The only evidence of life was the carolers, with their candles flickering, signaling a welcome to another Christmas day. Now in its 8th year, the residents have revived this traditional Christmas musical activity of singing carols in their communities. And, though small in numbers, their voices were enough to fill the pre-dawn silence.
Tradition of carol service. How long did it start in this community?
I'd say approximately 8 years ago.
Do you know of any other communities in Montego Bay where this is happening?
No, I'm not aware of that. No. I don't know of any. This is very important because it says that the reason for Christmas is Christ coming in the world, and not so much a commercialization that we now see happening in and around Jamaica. So it says a lot, and I know persons do appreciate it, especially many of us who grew up in the rural parts. You know, that tradition. But because of crime situation, many communities are fearful. But thank God we at Rosemont Gardens are blessed to really come out here this morning to say to the people that Jesus Christ is in charge and He is the reason for the season. Amen. He is the reason for the season. And that's why we are out here. And I'm sure persons in their houses now do appreciate it. So we want to continue this tradition in Rosemont Gardens for many years to come.
Amen.
Do you find that young people are embracing the tradition?
No, I don't think so. They are more in the celebratory mood, buying and eating, and frolicking. But not so much, because I think by now some of them would have wake up and come and join us out here.
I'm from the country area in Manchester, and carol service was something that we all look forward to, and the importance of maintaining the tradition. So we even though it was a dying tradition over the years, so as church, whenever I go to a church circuit or wherever, I would try to keep the tradition going, and to start a carol service there, so that people can understand that Christmas is more than just eating and drinking and merriment, but it's also about our salvation, our peace, our life. Because really in these times of crime and violence, the spirit of Christmas and the meaning of Christmas is so important to us. Peace on earth, goodwill toward men, and that is God's plan and purpose for man.
Anyone knows why we start out so early in the morning though for carol service? I mean, 5 a.m. is pretty early. Is there any reason for that? Do we know?
It's a tradition that starts after midnight mass. People came out and went caroling. So that's why they started so early in the morning. So they went to church, midnight church service. After the church service, they went out early and did the caroling.
Okay, so you started out what time this morning? At what
5
time?
a.m.
Okay.
And a part of it too is to create a mystique for all the persons to in keeping with the message that the angels brought. And they would hear the singing and they would not know who, because traditionally too the choralers used to cover their heads and so that nobody knew who was singing, but they would hear the singing in the morning.
Vendor shot dead at home in Westmoreland. A vendor was shot and killed after gunmen invaded his home in Savanna-la-Mar, Westmoreland on Tuesday morning. Dead is 58-year-old Michael Wright of Darling Street, Savanna-la-Mar in the parish. Reports are that Wright was at home about 4:30 a.m. when gunmen entered and opened gunfire, hitting him several times. Residents who heard the explosions alerted the police. On their arrival, Wright was found in bed suffering from bullet wounds. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Investigations are ongoing. Man shot by police in Grandspen. A man was shot by police in Grandspen, St. Andrew earlier Tuesday. The Constabulary Communications Unit confirmed the police-involved incident, but said the injured man has been taken to hospital. According to reports, the shooting took place sometime after 8 p.m. when the police were reportedly responding to reports of shooting. The police said a firearm was seized. Omicron risk remains very high. The risk posed by the Omicron variant is still very high, the World Health Organization said Wednesday, after COVID-19 cases number shot up by 11% globally last week. Omicron is behind rapid virus spikes in several countries, including those where it has already overtaken the previously dominant Delta variant, the WHO said in its COVID-19 weekly update. The overall risk related to the new variant of concern Omicron remains very high, the UN Health Agency stated. Consistent evidence shows that Omicron variant has a gross advantage over the Delta variant, with a doubling time of 2 to 3 days, and rapid increases in the incidence of cases is seen in a number of countries, including Britain and the United States, where it has become the dominant variant. The rapid growth rate is likely to be a combination of both immune evasion and intrinsic increased transmissibility of the Omicron variant. However, the WHO highlighted the 29% decrease in the incidence of cases observed in South Africa, the country which first reported the variant to the WHO on November 24. It said early data from Britain, South Africa and Denmark, which currently has the world's highest rate of infection per person, suggested there was a reduced risk of hospitalization for Omicron compared to Delta. However, further data was needed to understand Omicron severity in terms of clinical markers, including the use of oxygen, mechanical ventilation, and death. More data was also required on how the severity might be able to impact by previous COVID infections or vaccination. The WHO said that in the weekly ending Sunday, following a gradual increase since October, the global number of new cases rose by 11% compared to previous week, while the number of new deaths dipped by 4%. This correspondent is just under 5 million new cases and over 44,000 new deaths, the Geneva-based organization said. The highest number of new cases were reported from the United States, Britain, France, and Italy. DNA does not stop a man from being a father, says DJ Linkage. After finding out 4 years ago that the 2 children he has supported since birth were Jackets, Jamaican radio disc jockey Linkage could not bring himself to communicate with them. However, since then, he has gone through counseling and done much soul searching and self-introspection, and this Christmas pulled out all the stops to ensure that the children, ages 12 and 10, had a great Christmas. My daughter knows I am not her biological father. She doesn't care. It seems like nothing to her. I'm their dad, and that is all it is. No questions asked, no answers given. I told her that I wasn't her biological father, and she didn't care. You're my father, she replied, and she requested that I stop there. I love my kids, that's all, DJ Linkage reported. A jacket is a colloquial Jamaican term used to refer to a child given to a man who is not his or her biological father. It is reported a wide-scale occurrence in Jamaica. In fact, a 2016 study by Dr. Herbert Gale reportedly found that 25% of Jamaican men were unknowingly raising children that they did not father. Born Dexter Blake, the disc jockey owns and operates a station called Linkage Radio in New York, USA. After learning that both Jamaican children were not his, he eventually got over the heartbreak and accepted that he did not need to be a biological match to the children to be a father to them. Now, he is cherishing all the moments he spends with them, especially at Christmas time. The Christmas looks good for my kids. They always get what they want. Nothing has changed throughout the years. I am their Santa. My son needs a laptop. I'll get it for him. Anything they want, they get. They are my kids, he reported. Blake migrated to the USA several years ago and had filed for his children for them to join him. However, in 2017, he received a letter from a DNA agency informing him that the 2 children he had been supposedly fathered with 2 Jamaican women were not his biological offspring. DNA tests are required by the U.S. Embassy in Kingston as a vital part of its immigration visa process. Jackets were referred in a diplomatic cable captioned "Fraud Summary" and covering the period March 2009 to August 2009. A section of the cable in October 2009 read, approximately 10% of all cases where DNA is done result in no biological relationship. This percentage does not include those applicants that choose to abandon their case rather than undergo DNA testing. Every year, thousands of Jamaicans apply for non-immigrant and immigrant visas to the USA. The occupants of two vehicles crashed on Washington Boulevard in St. Andrew yesterday have been rushed to hospital. It is unclear what caused the collision. Decomposing body of retired police inspector found in Manchester. The Manchester police are probing the death of a retired inspector whose decomposing body was found at his home in Cobbler on Monday. The police say the body of 59-year-old Raymond Palmer was found on a bed in his house after neighbors called to report an odor. A post-mortem examination is to be conducted to determine the cause of death. Palmer settled in the farming community after his retirement. Man charged following gun seizure in Trenchtown. A man has been charged following the seizure of a firearm and several rounds of ammunition in Trenchtown on Monday. Charged with illegal possession of firearm and illegal possession of ammunition is 24-year-old Raymond Sylvester, otherwise called Prince, of 9th Street, Kingston 12. The police report that about 5:45 p.m., a team was on patrol when they observed Sylvester with a handgun. On their approach, he reportedly threw the firearm onto nearby premises before attempting to flee the area. He was accosted. The police say the yard was searched and a Taurus 9mm pistol and 8 9mm cartridges were seized. Firefighters from York Park Fire Station extinguished flames on electrical wires on North Street, Kingston, near the offices of the Gleaner Company Limited. No one was hurt. Williams appeals for full community support in search for missing university student. Minister of Education Favour Williams is appealing to residents of Archer and Clifton in Hanover to give their full support in the search for missing University of the West Indies student Charlene Evans. Evans, 27, has been missing since Saturday after leaving the home of her child's father. Since then, anxious relatives, friends and security forces have been searching for her. Amid reports from relatives that the final year student was experiencing some amount of depression, Williams also appealed to the wider community not to take lightly these signs and called for help for persons reporting mental health challenges. It is a sad reality that depression is an all too common experience of many persons across age ranges, and some carry it in silence, said Williams in a statement yesterday. I am appealing to all Jamaicans to be sensitive to the signs and to encourage family members to get help early so that the various situations do not escalate into something worse. Our hope and prayer are that Miss Evans will be found safe and sound, she continued. Rector rebukes JPS, the people of Jamaica are not your slaves. Rector of the St. Andrew Parish Church, Reverend Canon Kingston, held back no punches in his Christmas Day service as he rebuked the Jamaica Public Service Company JPS for its treatment to the poor. The people in Jamaica are not your slaves, the priest said in reference to the JPS lamenting how heartbreaking it was to see poor, stressed Jamaicans standing in lines to clear multiple bills. In recent weeks, there have been several complaints about electricity charges. In September, the JPS received an average 1.4% rate increase, and only this month it warned customers to brace for higher bills amid mounting fuel costs. The Office of Utilities Regulation has stepped in to verify the composition and computation of certain JPS charges. In the meantime, the rector said that the JPS should also review its charges.
I would like to say a word to JPS. And the word I say to JPS is that the people of Jamaica are not your slaves. The people of Jamaica are not in bondage. I did not use the pulpit, but I've said it right here. Because I have passed by that road and other places and I see poor people have to stand in line to question their electricity bill. And I don't hear any talk of it, neither in Parliament, God knows, King's House or Jamaica House. But our Jamaica people are under stress, and JPS need to examine the way that they quantify the fuel costs. Poor people are being afflicted, and JPS need to examine itself. You can't get 2 bills in 1 month. How can that be? And by the end of the month, you get another bill as you're stepping into the new month. I don't know if that is new math or traditional math or what's the other math? Well, whatever math it is, but it is not adding up. I say no more.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.